Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires Belief Cast. Thank you once again for joining us today. I'm so excited to have my really good friend Rich Saunders joining us today, so thanks for being here.
Thank you, Todd. It is my pleasure.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to thank all of you listeners for always tuning in every single week, and your support's been fantastic. We've reached so many people well above and beyond my wildest dreams, so thank you so much for believing in me. I want to thank our sponsor, Veracity Networks. Thank you as well for sponsoring this. And then I'd like to also give a shout out to Paul Cardall. The music you're just listening to is from Paul, and he agreed to, gave me approval to actually use his music, and it's beautiful. It brings such a good feeling, and I'm just excited that I have all this support around this. So a little background on Rich Saunders. He's the Interim Executive Director of the Utah Department of Health. And as you can imagine, he is very busy right now based on what's going on with COVID. He was also appointed Chief Deputy for the Utah Department of Health once it became clear that COVID-19 was a pandemic. And he spends 16-hour days right now working on that, and we're going to know a little bit more about that. Rich graduated from the University of California, Davis with a degree in organizational behavior, and then he spent 25 years as a private sector entrepreneur doing everything from co-founding a multi-million-dollar construction company to peddling a product on QVC shopping network. His theory that organizational health is the key to success of any work environment. And there's so much more about him, and we're gonna hear it from Rich. So again, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah. So why don't you give us a little background, where you grew up and a little bit about your family.
So we grew up in what is known today as Cottonwood Heights. We called it Sandy back then.
Yeah.
And down near the Creek Road area. And we lived on an 1.5-acre farm from the 3rd grade on. And in fact, I remember, I think the 5th grade class walked from Oakdale Elementary. The whole class walked all the way down Creek Road and down into the little farm acreage down there, the 1.5 acres.
Right.
And we toured our farm. We had milk cows and
Really?
and pigs and chickens and turkeys and great big garden, and a dad and a mom that were very self-sufficient.
Yeah.
In fact, most things we did were working around the yard. And my dad was a workmonger, and all of the boys would work. I had 4 brothers and 4 sisters. There were 9 kids total.
Yeah. Big family.
That was quite a deal. And Dad would make us work so much that I remember one time digging a trench hole down at the bottom of the driveway, at the bottom of the pasture, and complaining again because we're working again and everybody else is playing.
Right.
And my dad said to me, I think I'd probably quit complaining about working if I was you, because you'll never run out of work. And if we ever did run out of work, I would haul in a dump truck full of rocks and you just haul them off. So
Right.
Quit complaining about work. It's just work was just the way it is.
Yeah.
So we worked and worked and worked a lot.
Yeah.
The farm animals, we milked early in the morning. Sometimes I'd go to elementary school smelling like cow manure.
Right.
But yeah, we were raised in a home where I think the girls for the most part did inside work, and the boys primarily did the outside work. That was kind of the culture back then.
Right.
I learned through that's not the way to do it.
Right.
My wife and I, today we do everything outside and everything inside together.
Together.
I think
Right.
it's a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better that way.
For sure.
But anyway, we played a lot. We used to have, a lot of oak trees, and we'd have acorn fights, and
Yeah.
every year we'd set up big spook alley, big spook alleys. We'd put it on to the public, and the cows were a constant chore. The eggs were always needed to be gathered. The chicken coops always needed to be cleaned. The turkeys, we would go out on Thanksgiving morning and we would actually kill a turkey for the feast. And that's kind of the life we lived.
Yeah. That's how, the first time I met you is, I remember going to your house, and we met through, school and basketball. You and I played basketball together.
Yep.
And that's, I remember going to your house for the very first time, and it was this is all new to me. I didn't live on a little farm or anything like that. I lived in a teeny little house and had to mow the lawn every now and then. But other than that, when I remember like all the stuff you were showing me around your yard and the chickens and the cows and the big gigantic garden, I was just like, I was blown away because I'm like, man, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And I remember just seeing that. And I remember too that you had like 2 or 3 things you had to do before we could do anything else. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, okay. And I remember just sitting and waiting for you to finish. And I probably should have helped you. But
yeah, you probably should have.
But anyway, it was kind of a new experience for me. But that was the first time I remember just my experience with you and your family and where you lived.
Yeah, that's quite an upbringing. And I remember when we started associating with each other. In fact, you'll probably remember, and whoever hears this needs to cover their ears, but we used to go over to our local church, and we found a weakness in one of the doors that we could, if we kind of popped it, we could get in and play basketball. We meant no harm. We did no damage to the facility. We just wanted to play ball. Yeah. And I remember the janitor at the time, how many times he'd come in. He was from Germany, and he was a little bit aggressive, and he would come in there and find us playing ball, and he would chew us out and chase us out.
Right.
and then we'd go and do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
And then we'd go and then we'd wait for a little while, and then we'd circle back around
go back in,
pop
it again.
Yeah, because we just were dying to be in the gym all the time.
Yeah, we love that. And I remember, again, looking back on it now, I maybe didn't appreciate it at the time, but how hard you worked. And you talked about how, that's what you did. Your dad pushed, hey, we're going to work because there's always going to be work. Talk about that one principle and how that's really, shaped your life.
Well, I think at the core of work, there's an ethic. And the ethic is all about being willing to pay the price to achieve an outcome. And we were taught that you don't wait around for somebody to just give you something or land it in your lap. That it's the law of the harvest. You pretty much sow what you reap, or reap what you sow. And the sowing is hard, and the reaping is beautiful. But sometimes I think we learn through that same work ethic that if you choose not to work and not to sow, then you don't get to reap. And that's just the natural law of the harvest. Yeah. So we were pretty well drilled on the law of the harvest. And I think the foundation of that was critical, because all of our lives, all of my brothers and sisters we are workers. We know how to work. And, a lot of the working that we did was with our hands. Yeah. And I learned through, the years of growing up that it's really important to be able to learn how to work with your mind. Yeah. And with other talents as well. Sure. But not to lose track of being able to work with your hands.
Yeah, maybe have a balance there, right?
Yeah, I think the balance is critical. I think in a lot of society, it's maybe one or the other. And but I think it's really critical to be able to have a good intellectual skill set, a mindset of learning and putting forth the work effort, sowing the efforts in intellectual development, mental, emotional development, as well as keeping some sort of an ability to work with your hands. Yeah, I think it's just a really important. We just barely put in a yard, just barely. We just landed in April, and I wanted to do it all. Every piece of it, this from the scaping of the yard to the installation of the rocks and the water feature, and all of that, the paver patios, the sprinkler system, the topsoil, all of that, driving the tractors, and we did all of that together, my wife and I, and
that's awesome.
It's part of that ongoing desire or passion to be able to keep physically active and hardworking physically. Right. Even though my occupation is all mental and intellectual work.
Intellectual stuff. Yeah. Well, also when you do that, you're the one that does all the work. It's great to be able to look back. You have a lot more satisfaction. You probably appreciate it more as well. Yeah. Right. When you sit back and look, we did this.
Yeah,
right.
it's a huge reward, and I think you can get that same reward in either area, intellectual
Yeah.
or the physical labor. But
Sure.
I love the physical labor; it's so therapeutic.
Yeah.
If I had my dream, I'd have a little orchard where
Yeah.
I'd be able to prune the trees. And the one thing about physical work is that it doesn't talk back to you.
That's true.
It just obeys you.
Yeah.
So you get to be able to kind of be the sculptor and decide what it looks like, and that's fun for me.
You know, I had a great opportunity to work with you and your brother John on a landscaping crew.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I mean, I had a work ethic growing up, but nothing on the level that you had. And not to say that I think it's just different upbringings at times. But I'll tell you, I learned more on that landscaping crew. And I'll tell you, I hated it at first.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate it. But looking back, I love it. Because had I not learned some of those skills, not only learning the skills, but what I took away from that is work hard. And you had that same influence on me.
That's amazing.
You really did.
And you were an amazing part of that team. If you'll recall, we had a lot of yards that we maintained, and we timed every yard.
We timed everyone.
We made sure that we were hitting at the maximum threshold that we were allowed on the job.
Yeah.
And we were constantly trying to beat time.
Yeah.
And
like
do
last week
right.
we did this. It took us 15 minutes. Let's beat it. Yeah. And we'd run out. But not only that, we did good work. It wasn't like, let's hurry into a sloppy so we can beat the time.
Yeah.
No, we still had a system that we had to follow.
Our processes, we nailed the process.
Yeah.
And then we learned how to perfect the process with time.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of experiences on those grass yards and in those flower beds. Lots of experience together.
Yeah. Well, so, work ethic was obviously a big thing that you and your family, embraced as you grew up. What are some other principles that you learned growing up, maybe from your dad and your mom that they also taught you on top of, it's important that we work hard?
I think one of the key principles that we learned is that there is a God. And that we live in is his plan.
Yeah.
And that we can trust him. I mean, I don't know if it's even appropriate to get on the spiritual side of things.
Yes, absolutely.
But we were taught very, very clearly and through repeated experiences over many years that God does live and that he is actually our Father. Mm-hmm. And that we're here for a purpose and that we have divine potential. And that everything that we do in this life should be based on truth and principle, and try to work hard to subordinate emotions to principle, so that we govern our lives with principle.
Right.
And it's important to have emotion, and I mean, those are God-given, but to keep them in check, and to make sure that the decisions that we make are based on correct principle, rather than emotion. And a simple illustration of that can be seen in just driving down the street and somebody does something that makes you mad.
Right. Yeah.
The correct principle is to be kind and to treat others the way that they deserve to be treated, and to have mercy toward people. Yeah. The emotion says, roll down the window and call him something he's never been called before.
Let him have it. Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the emotion. And so learning to subordinate emotion to correct principle was a huge a concept that was developed over the years. So, and that comes, I think, primarily by really having a core belief system in who you are as a person, and that there is something much greater than you that has all power and all knowledge, and that we can trust in that, and then work through life in that trust.
Yeah, wow.
Another key principle that I think is important is that different people and different lifestyles, different opinions, different perspectives are good.
Yeah.
And that, that was a challenge, I think. The learning that took place on that principle for me was, it didn't come by always seeing it demonstrated, but sometimes in the circles that I would hang around or in the family, maybe at times it was not demonstrated, which made me step back and kind of think through, maybe the wrongness of it, and have a desire to change that. And so being able to listen to people and be able to understand their perspectives and actually try to see the world through the lens of other people, and to be okay with differences. I think that's another thing that I've watched be cultivated in my upbringing.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I can speak for myself, but I know other people, I think one of the reasons why people admire you in a lot of ways, and I know you don't like to hear this, but getting some praise here, but you really lived your life based off of principles. And even back when we were kids doing bonehead things, when we weren't doing all the right things, but even back then, when I think back, even in high school and junior high, when I knew you, you were still doing things that I had no concept of. And so it's interesting that how, you probably have just built on that foundation that your mom and dad kind of set in place as you were growing up.
I think that's right. It's as I try to discern what goes on in people, I think each of us have a moral compass that, and I don't know where the boundaries of each person's moral compasses are, but I'm learning where mine are. And I think the concept for me is to understand where my moral compass boundaries are and to be true to those boundaries. And when I do things that threaten the boundary or push the boundary beyond what I think my moral compass is, that's a compromise of integrity to me. And I think when I start to feel the compromise, I have to have the courage to take a step back from that boundary and live within the moral compass boundaries that I think drive me.
Right.
And I think those are important. And so learning experience upon experience as a young person and growing to I would say a more mature person. Is that better than saying older?
Yes.
Lisa says I'm not supposed to be calling myself older.
Yeah.
But I think and it takes trial and error. And we make mistakes, and we have to learn by mistakes where those boundaries really are, or maybe we need to make adjustments on those boundaries.
Right.
And then learn to discipline ourselves to live within them, because it's a happier way to live.
Yeah. So you're married, you have kids, and have you seen yourself now doing things with your own kids? And I know they're older now too, but did you see yourself teaching them the same principles that you learned growing up? Absolutely. Yeah.
In fact, with my daughters, we were out weeding and working in the garden. I've got pictures of us all out there working and learning how to be contributors. There's you're a consumer or you're a creator or they've learned guaranteed that principle takes priority over emotion, and we're not always perfect at it, but we need to keep striving for it.
Right.
And another thing that they've learned is the ability to look beyond our own beliefs and understanding, and let people also have beliefs and understanding. I think they do a very good job, probably a better job than I have done on that one.
Yeah.
They believe in the law of the harvest. They're good at that. They're good at working. They're good at paying the price to receive certain outcomes. I don't think that they have a mindset of just holding their hands out to be given things in life.
Right.
Yeah, I think family tradition has been thick with our family, and I know that's been with yours as well.
Yeah.
So I think that you pass on. I look at my kids and how they respect and recognize that there is a God, and that they are His children, and that He is greater than all of us, and that their lives are in a pathway that's consistent with His ways. Mm-hmm. Not perfect, but they try.
Right. Yeah.
I see that moral compass, those boundaries in all of them, and it's really a very kind of a nice reconciled feeling of contentment as I look as a dad at the kids.
Right.
They're all my 4 daughters are married, and the one son is graduated from high school.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to maybe just, take a little different look here. I want to go back to like your basketball career. You were one of the best basketball players I've ever seen and been around and played with. I remember part of that work ethic is you would even, you even dragged me a few times. You would get up early and go shoot baskets over the same church, pop the door, and early in the morning before we'd go to school. But I joined you sometimes there. Obviously, I wasn't there all the time. Talk about that, and then just talk us a little bit about basketball and just how that played a part in your development.
Yeah, to me, and I know we've talked enough to know that we both agree with this, that especially when you're in those ages, if you engage in something worthwhile, it's so critical to be able to have a focus and a purpose.
Yeah,
and sports, athletics, as you know, it really teaches you a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment, a lot of hard work. You're going to get what you pay for most of the time. Unfortunately, sports maybe makes you rely a little bit too much on your stats.
Right.
I learned after I finished playing college basketball that I was wandering, felt like aimlessly, because I didn't have any stats to define me. No newspaper articles, no stats.
Wow.
And I was kind of aimless. And somebody brought this to my attention just a few years out of college. And it made me realize that I had kind of, without really recognizing it, put my value or my self-worth based on what my stats were.
Yeah.
And I thought I was pretty smart, and I would never let that happen, but it did.
Right.
It did happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the sports.
Yeah.
My dad, I remember in my sophomore, junior, and maybe even part of my senior year in high school, my dad paid Jeff Judkins to meet me over at the church at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And he would just do one-on-one training for a while, and then after we finished with that, then he paid Devin Durant to come over, and we would just do drills and fundamentals. And I remember one of the great claims to fame that I have in the first of my senior year is it was just before the season. We were in the summer season between junior and senior year. Devin Durant and I would get together, we'd do fundamentals, and we'd do one-on-one. And then every Thursday we'd go to the University of Utah, and we'd actually, because Devin Durant, All-American, BYU. Right. And we would play pickup with the varsity team at the University of Utah. And I remember after one game, winner stays on. Right. And we got beat, so we were walking off, and the team that was going on, they were short one player, and they said, "Hey, we need one more guy." And I turned around, and Devin said, "Oh, I got it." And they turned to Devin and said, "No, we don't want you. We want Saunders." And I was like so thrilled, but it was only later that I realized it was just because I didn't shoot so much.
Yeah.
Like Devin did.
Yeah. Gotcha. No. That's a neat experience.
Yeah, that was good. So the early mornings continued on with my kids. I had one daughter that played college basketball.
Yep. Yeah.
We were like clockwork, 5 a.m. Over at the church, fundamentals. I would never have to drag her. Yeah. And then Richie, my son, who's signed BYU.
You just signed with BYU. Congratulations on that.
You.
That's awesome.
We're thrilled with that.
Yeah.
He's thrilled with it.
Yeah, I bet.
But since he was, 6 years old, I don't know, probably 5 days a week, we were over at 5 a.m. Yeah. And the kid, I was exhausted. I was serving as a stake president or a bishop at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And I would get late nights. I'm utterly exhausted. Really hard to drag my carcass out of bed in the morning. And here's Richie sitting out in the foyer of the house, tapping things, telling Dad, when we say 5 o'clock, I mean 5 o'clock. We need to go. Wow. Now we've just missed 5 minutes. If I was 3 minutes late, he would get on me for being late to show up to play ball. So I think as I've watched some of the kids develop in that way, that same pattern of early morning commitment. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have cows to get the kids out of bed early. We kept saying,
we got to milk the cow.
We got to have something like a cow to get the kids to focus on. So that's why we do gardening and stuff like that. But a couple of kids would do the early morning workouts, but the others didn't. They did other disciplines.
There's something about waking up early before. It's almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but because that's part of my daily ritual. I get up early.
You do.
Before anyone's phone's not ringing, no one's trying to get a hold of me, and I can connect. Spiritually,
Yeah.
I can connect with myself, and I learn things and that kind of thing. There's something about getting up early, and again, the discipline it would, taught your kids who were doing that. It's probably was fun to watch that.
Yeah, it's been really neat.
Especially when they're trying to get you out of bed, right?
That's inspiring.
Right.
Normally you're trying to drag your kids out of bed. But I mean, my kids have other issues and things
sure.
like that. But
Yeah.
But sometimes when I get up nowadays early, I think about you.
Really?
I actually think, I know Todd's up at this time.
Wow.
This is his time of solace and a time of isolation where he can really kind of connect.
Yeah.
And I think, growing up with the cows and the morning chores, we were up at 5 a.m. I think just all of that work ethic just made it so that early morning is just part of life.
Yeah.
You just get up, you can get a lot done.
Yeah.
Before the sun comes up and before people start, waking up.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. So, I know, we mentioned that you are the, Interim Executive Director of Utah Department of Health. Let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously, you are busy because of what's going on, not just here in Utah, but in the entire world with this COVID-19. I've seen you several times on TV announcing here's the guidelines we need to follow because of what's going on here in Utah. Talk about this experience.
Well, it's an interesting experience that I don't think anyone's ever had.
Yeah.
Ever.
That's a good point.
Not in our generations.
It's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, World War II.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, this is an experience that is new turf for most people. And I think at the core of this, it has become very political. I wish that it wasn't a political year, an election year.
Right.
Because it has become dangerously political.
Yeah.
In my experience. And creating a political environment out of something that's so serious as public health is wrong.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that's where we are.
This is where we're at. Yeah.
And I think outside of the political, in fact, probably related to the political, is the issue of there are people that think it's a hoax, that it's not even a real pandemic, that the virus is just a cold.
Right.
There are a lot of people that think that it's worse than the plague or the flu of the early 1900s.
Right.
And that if they walk outside and take one breath of air, they're going to die. I mean, there's
two extremes.
Two extremes.
Yeah.
And then so many layers in between those two extremes that it's every direction that you go is wrong to somebody or to some large groups of people.
Right. Yeah.
And so with that being the case, we have a very difficult, complicated response to it. And we have on one hand people that are picketing and protesting, get the government out.
Right.
On the other hand, we have a very large group of people saying the government is not doing enough, shame on them.
Right.
And off with them. And I mean, and it literally, and people are getting angry on both sides. They are angry.
Right.
And I look at humanity in this environment and I say, this is a really interesting test to see who we have become as a people.
Wow.
Selfish in many ways.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it kind of puts a pit in my stomach.
It's kind of eye-opening to me, and it hurts my heart a lot. I was talking to somebody yesterday that has a very different opinion of how we should deal with this.
Yeah.
And we just disagree.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay to disagree.
Right.
But somewhere we have to make decisions
and
move forward instead of falling on our back and just laying around hoping it all goes away.
Yeah.
I can tell you that on one hand, I think, gee, this is just like a cold. And on the other hand, I have enough firsthand witnessing experiences to know that this is a very dangerous virus.
Yeah.
It's the problem is that it's on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And it depends on what individuals have come across to form their belief. Of what it is.
Yeah, when a family has maybe someone who dies from it versus the whole family got it, but no one even had a symptom. And it's like, it's your experience that kind of dictates the way you're going to act and behave from that point forward about it.
It is so true. And because only 5% of the people that contract the virus end up in the hospital, that means 95% don't. But the 5% that do, it's a pretty rough go for a lot of those people.
Yeah.
I believe it's 20 or 30% of the people that end up in the hospital end up in ICU.
Wow.
And the other thing is about 30%, 25 or 30% of the people that actually contract the virus, because it's so new, we just don't have a lot of time that has gone by to understand where it's going.
Yeah.
But 25 or 30% of the people that have it are having or experiencing lingering health effects with the heart, or with the lungs, or with the sense of smell or taste. I know people personally, firsthand, with personal relationships, that have been, they're runners, and they have contracted COVID-19. And they can hardly go up a flight of stairs without being, winded.
Yeah, right.
And this is 3 months later. So there are some issues that are really concerning. And then we have a whole bunch of social media that's saying that this is a conspiracy, and that the government is in this to overcome and the world, and to deface families and individuals. And I sit in the center of this. I sit as far from the governor as you and I are sitting right now.
Right.
And we counsel together with a team, a very intelligent team of medical and other professions to really, and I can tell you, there is no conspiracy. This is a legitimate issue. It is really taxing society, and it is really taxing the hospital systems right now. And I look at the case count today, for example, and everybody says, "Oh, we're so tired of the case count." Well, I am too. But what we do is we look at the case counts to help us determine or predict what the hospitalization is going to be within about another month. And so case counts, it's just a 5% of that is going to end up in the hospital. What capacity do we have? We got 70 to 100 people going to the hospital every day. We have a finite number of beds and a shrinking healthcare workforce, because of exhaustion.
Or if even one of them get it, they got to go quarantine for 2 weeks. Now they're not doing their job because they can't.
So we're getting a decrease in our ability to staff the beds. And we're looking at this and thinking, okay, we have some of the smartest people in the world here in the state of Utah. Really great business professionals, medical professionals, economists. Entire teams of some of the most intelligent people. And we're actually working really well together to try to figure out what to do. And then you get these people that are on the peripheral that use these social media posts that have no accountability and no founded, what I would call, a lot of it is just partial truth and partial lies, or maybe even not intentional lies, but maybe misunderstanding. And so people grab a hold of social media instead of looking at the science. And then they start forming these emotions, and again, letting the emotions prevail over principle. And we have pockets of unrest in society, and that complicates it even further. And so we ask people if we can generally just wear masks when we're around other people from other households, less than 6 feet, and reduce our social gathering sizes. While we're in, higher, transmission levels, then we can probably do a lot to contain this. But when we get people that are opposing that and think this is a hoax and a joke, and especially, the 15 to 24-year-olds, that these great people, this great population that are doing what they should be doing, which is getting together and partying and having fun and doing great things. It's just bad timing for those things, because the virus is becoming so prevalent now that it's just moving through them. And some say, well, so what? They can get a cold and get over it. if we had the ability to just not put such a taxation on the health system, the hospital system,
Yeah.
and if we had the ability to protect the vulnerable people that are just simply going to really take this hard, then that would be just fine.
Yeah.
But because of those other factors, and you just can't control it like that. So we just, the thing that I wish is that we could just use this experience to band together and have the common enemy be the pandemic or the virus.
Not other people.
Not each other.
Yeah.
It's just a strange environment.
It is.
And it's venomous.
Yeah.
Weird to me.
Yeah. And like you said, it hurts your heart. It hurts. It does. I think, when I see all of this, you mentioned it. It's okay to disagree, but why can't we disagree with compassion? Like, hey, I don't agree with you. You don't agree with me, but hey, I respect you, and I'm going to have compassion towards you.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't need to vilify you and say something really, threatening or whatever to you
agree.
To try to get my point across or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we just don't agree.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And
too bad we can't do that.
I agree. And I think a lot of people do.
Right.
But I think too many don't.
Yeah.
And I think, for example, somebody comes up to me and with their fist in the air, I will never wear a mask. Well, okay, good, fine. Can you do anything else to help? Because we've got problems here.
Yeah.
Can you do anything? How about, can you help reduce your social gathering size or promote physical distancing or increase sanitization and hygiene or put out a good word of encouragement to people that we can do this?
Yeah.
Anything to create unity instead of disunity.
Yeah.
Anything to be for the good of the whole and the cause instead of making a political statement like somebody's trying to take their civil rights away by having them wear a mask. And the reason that we want to wear masks is so that we can have businesses stay open and everything flourish. Yeah. It's just a tricky dance.
It is a tricky dance. Well, you mentioned too, you're working like 16-hour days right now because of this. And I mean, obviously you're exhausted, and I'm grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to come sit down with me. Obviously we're friends, we go back a long way, but I do appreciate that. Like, you took some time out of this busy schedule of yours because people need you, and they need your organizational skills and everything else that you're doing to help along this cause.
And, I appreciate that, Todd. I am very busy. And we have a team that is very busy, and public health servants that I work with, they are phenomenal people.
Yeah.
They are working to the ends of the earth to try to figure out how to create correct data so that we can make correct decisions and do the right things. And they're very, very good people.
Yeah.
But the reason that I took the time is because I believe in you, and I believe in the people that you reach and the good that you're doing. And I think that we've got to continue to keep doing great things like that you're doing. And so this is a privilege for me to be able to come here and take some time away from the other environment for just a few minutes and support the good that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Very well respected.
No, I appreciate that. Well, I've learned I consider you my mentor, and I've told you that before. And whenever I'm speaking to a client, I'm like, well, my mentor taught me, and that's you all the time. And there's a lot of principles you taught me, but one of the greatest ones that I use a ton, and you'll remember this, and it has to do with building relationships or strengthening one that maybe isn't going so well. Because I work with a lot of clients they come to rehab and they've blown up relationships. They're strained, they're unhealthy, and they get frustrated because they want to go repair these things if they can, right? So I teach them the principle that you taught me: fast is slow, slow is fast. Yeah. You remember that?
I do.
I'll tell you, people say, where's this been? I'm like, my mentor taught me this like 30 years ago. Like, honestly, and I've never forgotten it. But I'll tell you, I have expanded on that principle, Rich, to share with my clients. And I can't tell you without fail, the response back maybe a month or two later, they'll come back and say, you weren't kidding. That principle has saved my marriage. That principle opened up the door for my daughter and I to have a relationship again. It's the coolest thing.
It's Todd. I think it's a principle that I just hope people will have toward me.
Yes.
And that is And my dad taught this. By the way, the principle of slow is fast and fast is slow comes from authors that are far greater than me. But my dad would teach, Rich, be careful not to be too quick at expecting people to be today the person that they will eventually become.
Wow.
And really be patient with people, because we're all really trying to do the best we can to move forward with what we have. And I think as I look at other people, and I've watched other people be patient with me, I know so many times that I say the wrong thing or I push the wrong button.
Right.
And I'm just almost cringing inside thinking, please have mercy on me. Be patient with me. Because I didn't mean to hurt or do anything that would be detrimental. And I just plead for their forgiveness toward me. And it's the same philosophy of me being able to be patient with other people. Because in the end, as you work with people and you're very patient with people while they try to figure out how to overcome life, then in the end, it's the fastest way to strengthening people and relationships. It's worth every effort.
Yeah.
And there are some cases when you just have to cut bait.
For sure.
And,
if it's toxic and whatever, or harmful or abusive or whatever,
Yeah. But I mean, it's a principle that we all know that we want other people to demonstrate toward us.
Right.
And so being able to demonstrate toward other people this slowness at our judgment against them.
Right.
And being able to be patient with people and consistently working through life with people, in the end, it's the fastest way to a very healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's been not only in my own life with my own family, and I've put it to the test. You won't remember this, but I'm going to remind you. So I remember, and I won't go into all the details because it's pretty sacred stuff that you and I have been through and how you've changed my life, and to be honest, on some level, saved my life. And if people knew our background, they would get it. But we won't go into that right now. But I'll never forget what I said to you one day. Sorry, I'm getting choked up. That I want to help people, and I want to do this, and this. And I was just I remember I was so excited to tell you. And it was when we were landscaping even. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget it. It was in a yard over by my house, actually, right now. I won't say the name of the people there. We'll talk after. But I remember telling you this, and I'll never forget what you said. You turned and you said, if that's what you're going to do, the hardest thing for you will be to practice what you preach. Mm. And you said, you can preach all day long, but if you're not doing what you say or you're having other people do, then they'll read right through it. And as you said that, I logically, I go, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I didn't appreciate that until about maybe a year later. I realized I had done like a little speaking event, and I remember telling the crowd, okay, you need to be doing this, and this. I can't remember exactly what I was saying, sure. But I'll never forget walking out there going, I'm not doing that. And I was like, Rich was right. Yeah. It's easy for me to say that, but I'm not doing it. So I just want to say this right now. Thank you for that, because it has probably been the greatest asset for me, what I'm doing today, because I can look my client or a family member in the eye saying, I will not tell you this without you knowing that I'm doing this. Yeah. And I'm not perfect at anything.
Yeah, there we go. I think
I'm not perfect at all. Yeah. But I'm doing those things that I want you to do or my client to do. But I'll tell you, that has never left my mind.
That's exceptional. I can, if I can relate with that, is I remember, in ecclesiastical responsibilities where I would just have a disagreement with one of my kids, and just as I'm having to go out and preach a sermon right. or something, and I can just remember walking out of the house thinking, I might as well not even go preach the sermon because I don't even know how to live it myself, or whatever. And then it hit me. Here's a principle that I think that's evolved on that principle, which is, and you kind of just said it, is make sure that we understand what the standard is.
Yeah.
And then realize that just because we can't live perfectly the standard doesn't mean we can't teach it, preach it, talk about it, promote it. As long as we're engaging in the principles and striving for the standard, we have every qualification to teach and preach the standard.
Yeah.
But I think, if we are sayers of the principles only, and we don't do.
Yeah.
It's a very shallow
Right.
depth to it.
Yeah, and I think people, especially if you're trying to help them, can kind of see through that.
Yeah.
They can kind of feel something's off.
Yeah.
Right. So, but again, I honestly, that's been one of my foundational principles that you taught me, that I try to make sure, hey, I'm doing the best I can in that principle that I'm teaching or preaching about.
And you know what I've learned that about you, Todd, is that when you say, when you prescribe, you're a doer of your prescription.
Oh, thank you.
And I can always count on that. I have no question that you are a doer of the things you preach.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to ask you a couple more questions. One is, how do you keep yourself centered and grounded? What does a day look like for you? Like
now or
now?
Previously?
Well, you can actually touch on both if you'd like, because I'm sure it's evolved obviously in life. But how do you keep yourself from? I mean, especially with what you're dealing with now, you're in a high pressured position. But I'd love our listeners to know how you keep yourself grounded. How do you keep yourself present? How do you keep yourself connected spiritually and with your family and things like that?
It's probably the hardest time of my life. To keep those connections. I was just telling two of my daughters yesterday that I'm screaming for help. I'm reaching to you for help. I need you to reach to me. I need you to figure out how to be creative to connect with me, because I'm on a luge right now that is unprecedented and unpredictable.
Wow.
And I am in very tense situations most of the day, with multiple groups of people, very high level individuals, and trying to sort through the right thing to do for the state of Utah.
Yeah.
And I need you to connect with me. Please reach to me. And so that's one thing. Another thing is that every morning I roll out of bed, and sometimes it is truly rolling out of bed.
Like falling over the side.
Yeah, there's no way I can go again. And I always find a place to kneel, and even if it's 3 minutes, pause and recognize God and invite him verbally to please be a part of my life today, to guide me, to inspire my mind, to give me understandings beyond my own, to help me to be discerning, to know what real is and what unreal is, and to not be fooled or tricked. And so I have that moment every day.
Yeah.
And this is just after 5 a.m. And then I'm on the road just after. I try to get 13 or 14 minutes worth of some sort of a physical something in.
Yeah.
Every day. It doesn't happen every day.
You've always been big on, taking care of your body. I know
I would be an hour a day, 6 days a week.
I know you would.
But now I'm, if I get 4 days a week at 15 minutes, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But then I'm cleaned up and I jump in the truck and I'm driving an hour north every morning. And that quiet time is when I turn on some connection, whether it be some inspiring messages or some music that is inspiring. And I give myself about 25 minutes of the drive to that devotion, where I can kind of connect. That's when everybody's asleep. Not everybody, but
I know what you mean. Though you're up in front of before everybody.
And then I start meetings just before 7 on the phone with my first meeting, and I go till often, 8:30, 9 at night. I get home, probably between 6 and 9 o'clock every night, and phone and dealing with issues for most of the rest of the waking time, and drop down to bed again. I connect with my wife. We every night before we go to bed, we kneel beside the bed, and we pray vocally together.
That's awesome.
And then a lot of times we try to figure out ways to hold hands and stay connected. And every once in a while during the day, I pop her a little text that says, I love you, or 3 hearts, or whatever the message is. And
Yeah.
she's always very good at, once or twice a day sending a little signal to me that she's there. And it's hard too, because it can't be that life is all about me.
Right.
Because it just isn't. From my vantage point, I'm just all consumed right now. But that doesn't mean that same perspective is borne by my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
And so somehow I've got to figure out how to not be that.
Yeah, the family dynamic doesn't stop because you're caught up with the busyness of what you're doing. This still is going.
The hardest thing for me is to turn my mind off of the pressures that are out there.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
I can be sitting talking to my wife and have no idea what she's saying.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. And again, don't be too quick, Lisa, to expect me to be perfect right now. Be patient with me while I'm...
Did you hear that, Lisa?
So it's just a matter of just a constant... you have to be conscientious of the fact that you've got to stay connected with deity. You have to be connected with the family and the ones that you're closest to and that you love. Yeah. And then you have to compromise and sacrifice a whole bunch of other things. Yeah. For right now.
Right.
I mean, that's the world today.
Yeah, for sure.
And try to find a little bit of time on a weekend to do something. Yeah. Even if it's dig a fence pole. Right. A fence post hole. Yeah. Or something, anything to do that's not related to this.
Go rip out a tree stump.
Hopefully somebody that
that's
wants
something
it
you would
out.
Do. I'm gonna go rip out this tree stump. I got something to do.
And I don't want to portray anything of a poor me. I have a choice in this. Right. It's my choice to be here to try to serve the people of Utah. I choose this. Yeah. And I'm grateful for the privilege and the opportunity. But it's just a heavy lift right now. For sure.
No, and I don't think it comes across that way at all. You're just like, this is what I'm dealing with. Yeah. If someone's listening to you right now and they're hearing your story and they're hearing what you're dealing with your work, and then just, some of these principles you've shared, if someone right now is listening to this and they're struggling, just whether it's because of the pandemic or whether they're just struggling in life, whether they're struggling, they have no connection with a higher power, they're just having a hard time, what advice could you give that person right now who needs some hope in their life at this moment?
I would say, depending on the circumstances, but one thing I would say for sure is that there is so much good in the world and so much hope, and that the potential of the individual is so beyond our capacity to see and oftentimes understand. And to keep going, I would say to grab hold of correct principles, understand your moral compass boundaries, and practice trying to live within those, because what happens is when we do the things that violate those boundaries, it demoralizes us internally, and it makes us less confident, less hopeful. It destroys the integrity of our hope. Right. And so try and try again. If we fail, it's okay. Try again. I love the principles that you teach, the belief system, and the ability to reach inward into who you are and to tap into who you are. You're not broken. Yeah. You are able to become whole. If I brought religion into this and I was teaching from a religious perspective, which I believe in my mind, there's no separation. Yeah. I would point to the source of all hope to me is Jesus Christ. And if other people don't believe in Jesus Christ, I would invite them to consider that. And if they choose not to, then to believe in a higher source. Yeah. And that there is a God above that loves them. And that there's all the hope in the world through that belief system. I would say to them to develop a focused mind. Yeah. A focused mind on correct principles, on worthwhile purposes, and to disengage from counterproductive behavior and try to engage in worthwhile purposes, service to other people, education, learning, development of skills, talents that you have, and being able to influence people's lives for good just by virtue of the talents and the skills that you've been blessed with. Yeah. I would say things like that. Right. Help me with more.
Well, no, very well said. And you talk about the focus thing. One of the things I try to live by as well myself, and I share with family and my clients, is that what we focus on increases.
Yes.
I think that's the law of God, honestly,
Yeah.
is that we focus. And I loved how you always said that if there's something we can focus on that's good, that's going to propel us in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right. And so I love that you said that. If I'm focusing on, I'm going to exercise the principle of honesty today. That is the one I'm focusing on, because I haven't been very honest lately. Yeah. And so I'm going to just be honest today.
That's well said. That's
right.
Really good.
And so what's going to happen? That principle of honesty is going to increase. Yes. It's going to magnify. I'm going to, in all areas, feeling it, hearing it, saying it, having other people experience it with me. And so I love that you said that focus piece, because I think that is it.
And you know what's interesting, Todd, at least I found through my associations with others as well as my own personal life, is when we're in this mode of hopelessness and discouragement and failure feeling, the last thing we want to do is focus.
Right.
It's so point. Counter to the way that we feel. And we think, no, I need a pill, or I need and maybe we do need some sort of medication. Right. But beyond that, in terms of changing internal behavior and your character, focus on correct principle, like you just said, being honest. Picture the way that you would magnify your life if you engaged in the focus of honesty in a day.
Yeah.
And I've heard it said that in all of this commotion that's going on in our minds and in our hearts, that a focused mind is a quiet mind. An unfocused mind is a chaotic mind.
Wow.
And when we live a life of chaos, life is hard. It's a lot harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And just by focusing, as you've said, whether it be on engagement of honesty with other people, or whether it be on learning how to play the piano, or to build things with our hands, or write something, or whatever those focuses are, as long as they're worthwhile purposes, they will promote a life that expands and expands in goodness.
Yeah.
And that focused mind creates a quiet, reconciled mind and heart, as opposed to the opposite.
Yeah. I love that. No, that's beautifully said. I don't know how I couldn't say that any better. You know, one last thing I was thinking of when you were talking there, and I was just thinking back on our relationship, is that there's a principle out there. It goes like this, you know, the greater the darkness, the greater the light. And there was a time in my life I was experiencing a lot of darkness, truly. And you were one that kind of, and again, we won't go into all the details here, but you were kind of like the conduit at that moment for me, because obviously you were my friend, that opened up me to this light that's available, you know. And if we get religious, right, it was God in my life, a higher power, the light, the spirit, the love that I was lacking. And so I just want to thank you for being who you are, because had you not lived a life of principle, I don't know if you'd be in a position to be in that position to help me at the time I needed it most. So I want to thank you, Rich, for being that guy.
Todd, you're overly generous and gracious. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If you picture your life, if you had not chosen to change, you are a very talented person. You're a man filled with light and goodness. You have a passion for goodness and for the well-being of other people that's unusual. And I think what I've seen happen is we have the privilege right now of looking back with hindsight and looking over
we can look back
decades
right.
and see what happened.
Yeah.
The road forward is rough, but looking back, when you grab hold of the correct things, life is beautiful,
right?
Very meaningful. But going forward, it's really hard. And the question, where would you be today had you not chosen to focus and to trust in a higher source? Where do you think your life would be? I'm curious, do you think about that?
I do. And I can, the quick and easy answer, I'd be dead.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. And we no, I'm not kidding you. Sure. I would have ended my life. because that's where I was. I was done. And so I would not be here. But if I was here and I still didn't accept that, I can tell you this, I would be miserable. I wouldn't have accomplished a third of what I've done in my life. I wouldn't have reached this many people in my life. I mean, I look back and I pinch myself. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I didn't see this.
That's pretty special.
And so I don't know if that answers the question exactly, but honestly, I really believe I wouldn't be here. And I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but that's where I was when I had that experience with you. I was done.
And I think the value in the privilege of this hindsight,
right,
is if we take, your listeners, if we look at people's lives, we have to admit that if each one of us would grab hold of the principles that we're talking about,
yeah,
each one of us has the opportunity to engage in such a beautiful life as you. Now, we all have different talents and we all have different abilities.
Yeah, everyone, yeah.
Not everybody's going to have a podcast like you and reach so many thousands of people. But within their circles of influence, there is so much room and hope for greatness and contentment,
yeah,
and reconciled feelings,
yeah,
that are so worth living for, so worth sacrificing for. And I look at your life today versus then, and how many thousands of people would not be inspired today had you not decided to discipline yourself to align with correct principle.
right.
I mean, it's a miracle,
Yeah.
to me.
No, thank you. And I do feel that way. I always think back, if I could go back to what I went through or say something to it, like my addiction and all that adversity, I would say thank you to it, because it was the wake up call to my greatness.
Yeah.
And, and God showed me that I'm not that person. I'm not that guy. So, and we could talk for hours on this part,
Yeah.
but no, I thank you and for sharing that. And I'm just grateful that I know you, and I'm grateful that you would honestly take some time out of this very hectic, busy schedule of yours to share some principles and insight that has helped you in your life. And I know people hearing this, they're going to be inspired, and it's going to help them in their life.
Todd, thank you for the privilege to be here. And I wish your listeners the very best. Let's go about doing good together, united in good principle. Yeah. And I think that the whole world will be different because of all of us.
Yeah.
So thank you for all that you do, Todd, and for the great principles that you teach, and the influence of good that you bring to so many people. I count it a great privilege to be your friend.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel the exact same for you, and I'm going to leave it at that. There you go, folks. That was Rich Saunders. He is a man of principle, as you can well already know if you didn't already know him. And I would challenge you guys to take what he said and start applying it in your life. Make it your focus, like we just talked about. And I promise you, you will feel some light and some love and the needed energy in your life again. Because it's there. It's there for the taking. We just have to make those decisions to do those things. And I do believe God is good, and I do believe that he is waiting and willing to help anybody. And so please reach out to me if you want to get to know Rich a little bit more. I typically have you give out your information on how people can get a hold of you. I'm not going to do that to you because as this is going on, you don't have any time for that. But please reach out to me, and I will relay it back and forth with Rich, and when there's time, we'll definitely get back. So anyway, thanks everybody for believing me, and again, thanks Paul Cardall for the music and Veracity Networks, and thanks for all of you guys. Love you so much.